Hi, today on Inspiration we're talking with celebrated author and founder of the Kitchen Garden Foundation, Stephanie Alexander. Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephanie.
It's my pleasure.
So how did you get involved in cooking and food and the Kitchen Garden Foundation?
Well, I think as a child I grew up in a family that really loved to eat together, and my grandfather lived with us. He loved to grow food. So as a family we sat around the table, we enjoyed talking about what we were eating as well as discussing the news of the day, and it became a very important part of my life, and it's always been there.
So what inspired you to start the Kitchen Garden Foundation? I
think having spent 30 odd years in the restaurant industry, I was well aware that there are many people who don't have any intuitive understanding about growing food and the connection between the time of the year and what's available, etc. And I thought that it was really important that children have some sort of an introduction that has to be enjoyable to everything about food if we want them to develop better food habits. And it seemed to me that the sort of interventions that were being proposed by government were not helpful. They were sort of negative messages. They were telling children what they shouldn't do, what they mustn't eat, and it was all sort of finger wagging and negative. Whereas what we hoped to do, what I hoped to do, was to find a way of just letting kids be hands-on, get them out in the garden, get them digging, let them get into their gumboots, let them plant the seeds and see what happens, and then let them pick the food, take it into the kitchen, learn how to cook it, and best of all, sit around a table with their friends and taste things they've never tasted before. And that really was the thinking behind the whole program, and that's exactly what has happened.
So obviously you don't run the kitchen garden all by yourself. It must be a collaborative effort. So how does it work?
It's a very big organisation by now. We started off with 2 people, me and a friend in my front room, and that's where it started. And we've now probably got 20 to 25 people employed at the foundation all over Australia, because we have a project officer in every state. It's hugely collaborative. It's marvellous. We have an outstanding CEO, Ange Barry, who keeps us all in line, but keeps us inspired because she's a very creative thinker as well as a strategic thinker, and we work very well together. I'd also like to say that my own personal friends are very important in all of this, because I work very, very hard, and it can seem a bit much, and it's wonderful to have friends that you've known for 50 years that we can always just have a laugh and realise that life is nonetheless going to go on.
So how do schools get involved or families get involved in the Kitchen Garden Foundation if they wanted to start up a garden and a kitchen in their school?
Well, I think the key to it all is that somebody has to be the driver, either a parent or a member of the school council, and in most cases those people have been to see one or more of our already established kitchen garden schools. And that's usually the catalyst for great excitement, that those parents talk amongst themselves, they go to the principal, they ask the principal if he or she could visit some schools too. This is one way of doing it, but this is a very common way. And then they get onto our website where we've got masses of information about how to apply for grants, and they have to fill in this fairly rigorous form, and then their application is considered, and eventually we make a selection.
Sounds like it's an amazing project, especially for young people that maybe are living in urban areas that really don't even understand where an egg comes from or where the milk comes from. It's sort of giving them grassroots experience into preparing wholesome food for themselves.
It does all of that. It also is fantastic for developing self-esteem, and for children who've got special needs, who find it hard to sit still in class or have some other need. This program is very engaging, and we find kids really, really want to be there. School attendance goes up on the days that kitchen garden classes are on offer. So it's all the extra things that make it so rich, that it also, along the way, along with gardening and cooking, what we're also finding is, of course, that there's so much educational stuff that's going on. The children are measuring the whole time they're in the kitchen, they're estimating, they're understanding the properties of egg whites, whisking, and new language. In the garden, they learn all about the environment, they understand about the importance of good soil, feeding soil, water management. There's so much happens, and it all happens in this hands-on practical way, so the children hardly realise how much they're learning.
It's a fabulous idea. So how can parents take this philosophy home with them? You know, if they've had a busy day at work and they're trying to manage their kids and they want to prepare something healthy at home, what would you suggest they do?
Well, of course, there's no easy answer, and if family patterns have been established in the past whereby mum does everything, this is much harder. I think it's very important to try to establish a family pattern where that evening meal is, people all have responsibilities, kids help, dad helps, you know, whatever. It's a shared thing, and it's something that people really look forward to. And at least several times a week, the family should plan to eat together, because that's what brings family interaction, hearing about what happened in everybody's day. I think that's incredibly important. I have written the Kitchen Garden Companion, where I've tried to say practically how people, even with small gardens or balconies, can grow some of their own food. And I think even in an ordinary sized pot, you can grow a cherry tomato, you can grow a single eggplant plant, you can certainly grow herbs, you can certainly grow fresh salad leaves. So it isn't rocket science, and you don't have to contemplate a market garden in order to give yourself pleasure at home.
And it's all about enjoying food, enjoying the family, and sitting up to a meal every night. And there's some really easy steps that people can take. Just at least, you know, let's start off with one night a week that we all sit down and, you know, cook together. It's a really great idea.
It's fantastic, and of course the interest in food continues to grow, and I would like to feel that the interest in food isn't just about fancy food, but that it is about how to use straightforward ingredients that are accessible to everybody in a speedy way, but still end up with something that's absolutely delicious.
Absolutely. So what inspires you as a person?
Well, I think probably at this stage in my life, I would say the most inspiring thing is to visit the kitchen garden schools and see the children, because I'm greeted by faces smiling from ear to ear. They can't wait to take my hand and show me their garden, to point out what they've done since the last time I was there, show me the chickens, and then with a sense of surprise, I'm taken into the kitchen and there find there's a whole lot of activity going on, and those kids can't wait to sit down and bring on the beautiful whatever it is. The other day it was spicy zucchini fritters, it was a caramelised leek tart, it was a green salad, and it was a pumpkin soup. Now that was all made by children who were aged 8 or 9, and they were so proud of it, and everyone ate it.
It's truly inspirational to see young people being so excited and creating amazing food. And what's next for you?
I think next for me might be more of the same. I mean, increasingly the foundation is a diverse number of people, and I'm really now the person who inspires the others, and who is the figurehead, and who does a lot of lobbying, and who is the public face of the foundation, and that will continue. I think that I will always continue to be writing something. I'm currently thinking about my life, and that's quite something, a big project. I think I'd have to say more of the same.
I wish you all the best and so much more success with the kitchen garden and your own writing. And thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure, Katrina.
Thank you. And until next time, be inspired.